Welcome to Twitter Dippity. Twitter Dippity is the apex of when real life meets up with Twitter. And it's those moments when people connect and magic happens. I'm Carol Doane, and I'm the general manager at ZZoomMedia. Our featured project is Cube.com, and that's a Vancouver website that tells stories using video and audio. I'd like to introduce the rest of the panel. Joining me today is Michelle Anderson. She's a freelance writer. She's also into a storytelling experiment that's very ambitious. It's genre smashing. It's called The Miracle in July, and please look that up and connect with her. Also, there's Mary Rarick. She is a caffeine-addicted hyphen enthusiast. She loves things like shoes. She's a reformed editor and a grammar geek, and she also loves carpet cleaner tracks. Welcome, Mary. Joining us also is Michael Perozzo. He is the founder of ZZoomMedia, and he also stalks the world as a Trailblazer fan at Darth Blazer. So what I'd like to do is start with Michelle, because she's actually the person who coined the phrase Twitter Dippity. She's going to talk a little bit about how we connect with each other and how she went out and found readers for her story, The Miracle in July.
Okay, so if you have a Twitter account, your data stream is made up of the people you're following. And you're following people because you have something in common with them. Water skiing, pie baking, books. But these people also have other interests that you might not share. And your Twitter stream is a data stream. And Twitter Dippity is the serendipity that happens when you open up your Twitter feed and you happen to see a tweet that leads to awesome, that leads to something that you hadn't expected. For instance, last week I was looking for a twin bed, and so I asked Twitter if anybody had a twin bed that they wanted to get rid of, and I got a twin bed, and I found someone to haul it to my house. And all I had to do was ask. So that's the basis of Twitter Dippity. And I wrote an article for Read Write Web explaining what Twitter Dippity was, because a lot of awesome has come to me from my data stream. And it comes from the special, unique ecology that is Twitter, which is you have, what do we have? Like millions of people now that have Twitter accounts, all possibly potential followers or followees. And this ecology is a fast-moving stream. The data is perishable. It doesn't stick around for long. And the awesome that comes out of it really is a matter of being in the right place at the right time, opening up your Twitter stream at the right time, and seeing something or asking for something. I needed a bed, and somebody who had a bed happened to see it. And they contacted me, and I got the bed. So Twitter Dippity also works the other way, which is the benefit of tweeting awesome, sharing data for someone to find that they might see. And when I had an idea for a book that I wanted to write, I knew that I had this idea to go an alternate route besides the traditional publishing. I wanted to take advantage of the free social media tools that are available, Twitter, to find an audience for my story before I had even submitted the manuscript to a publisher. So what I did was I created some buzz. I used a hashtag July 6th. And when I was working on my story for months, planning what I was going to do with it, I would tweet typity type, and then use the hashtag July 6th. People were curious about that. They wanted to know what the heck I was typing about all the time and what July 6th was all about. So I said that something big was coming on July 6th. And when July 6th happened, July 6th, 2009, I published the first chapter of the first draft of my story, The Miracle in July. And people were very positive about it. July 6th is also my birthday, so there was a lot of tweets I got. I believe I counted 465 birthday wishes and comments about my first draft of my first story. And this is exactly what I was looking for. I was looking for people to read my story, my first draft, and give me feedback on it. So with my hashtag, I created some buzz around the story, and every week for almost a year, I published a new chapter. And people were retweeting my links to the new chapter and using the hashtag July 6th, and we created a new hashtag called hashtag The Miracle. So when I was talking about a new chapter, I would use the new hashtag The Miracle, and people were retweeting it, and they would click on The Miracle, and it would bring up a whole bunch of tweets. I'm sorry? Okay.
We'll wrap back around and find out what happened to The Miracle in July, but I did want to ask Mary Rarick a couple of questions. The only thing I think I have on Mary Rarick is that I met Nolanhoshino before she did, and I know that because after he met me, he tweeted that I was his hashtag BFF, and then he met Mary and he tweeted the same thing. So Mary, tell us about meeting Nolanhoshino, another Twitter dippity moment.
It truly was. I can't tell you when I first started following Nolan on Twitter. Don't remember it, don't remember why, but of course I know why I still follow him. He provides a lot of value, he's funny, the links are great. I do, however, remember distinctly the moment we met in real life, which is what I really try to do a lot of. I mean, I take it offline as much as possible. And we were at a rooftop event last summer, and I met him in real life at this event, and we recognized each other right away because, of course, we'd seen, the pictures on Twitter, and we had a lot to talk about because, of course, we'd had conversations online. We proceeded to have many different coffee meetups to discuss things we were working on. I sent him lots of DMs asking his advice. We became really, really good friends. And this in January, February, something like that, when he had this idea for this little book, he approached me and asked if I'd want to work with him on this book. And of course I said absolutely. So talk about awesome, right? That's a great return on investment, I'd say.
So you found a friend and a business opportunity on Twitter.
Definitely.
Okay. Michael, since you work for a marketing agency, or you founded one, I wanted to ask you how we're doing on our personal brands.
Yeah, let me get to that. I want to do something real quick first,
Go for
if
it.
we can. Along the lines of what Mary was saying, just in meeting people in real life, taking that offline, the four of us here, none of us are celebrities in any way, but real quick, if you met one of the four of us online first and then met us in person, can you stand up real quick? You had a chance to meet one of us in person at some point. Quite a few. Yeah, online
If you met
first.
one of us online first before you met us in real life,
Through
what do you think that was,
Twitter.
about 10% of the room?
Yeah. Okay. I wanted to know that because I know, and even looking around the room, I saw a number of people that didn't stand up that I can look at and go, actually, I was following you before we met. But as far as our brands go, at ZoomMedia, we work with a lot of different brands, large and small. In this whole thing, Twitter dippity, connecting things together, and for a brand. I'll call in a couple examples of where it's been successful and it's been just kind of a coming together, and then I want to kind of draw an example that's, well, not so great. we did some work with, and are doing work with Pizza Schmitza. And Pizza Schmitza, they've put themselves out online in a very fun way. They're an exciting brand, and they want to be different. And in doing that, we've gone out and had conversations online about some of the dumbest things in the world that have led to some unique opportunities in connecting with local high schools and things like that for the brand. Some of the things we talk about online have ranged from baseball to the Ninja Turtles. And in those relationships that are built, we've been able to connect that brand with members of the community that just started talking on Twitter, and now it's progressed to advertising opportunities, relationships, a lot of really neat things. But when you're dealing with a personal brand on Twitter, it's also, I'm sorry, not a personal brand, but a business brand. If you're a small business owner or are online as a brand, there's some definite lines that sometimes get crossed. And I won't mention a name, but I've followed a Portland area eatery for a while. And one of the things I came across on Twitter was that the owner of the eatery tweeted as the brand, but it was also their personal account. So I came across one day a tweet that said, "This is the crappiest day ever, I want to die." And I thought, who's hungry? You know, it just didn't fit that brand. So I think there's definitely, when it comes, I'm a big proponent of be personal, connect with people on a one-to-one basis on Twitter. A lot like Chris and Bruce were sharing with us earlier. It's not a megaphone. Connect personally with people, but at the same time, there's that certain place where a brand can get too personal. And really, I think you almost get the opposite effect of Twitter dippity. You've kind of scared some people.
One of the nice things that I like about Twitter is to basically be open to people encountering me or meeting me. And so I'm more curious about how people connect with me than actually going out and finding them. Michelle came from the other perspective. She was looking for readers for her book, and the Twitter dippity, the next step for her was basically getting funding for her storytelling experiment.
So it's been a year of me publishing chapters and a year of me sharing chapters on Twitter and getting people to read it, give me feedback, and participate in how the story unfolds, and sharing it with readers who might be interested in it with other readers. And when it was over, when the first draft was written and all of it was available for reading, it was time for me to fund it. I needed to get some media to make it an interactive experience offline. The first draft has a lot of user-generated content, so by that I mean YouTube videos, Creative Commons licensed pictures, MP3s by bands who are giving away for free. But I didn't own any of that media, so I needed to get my own, and I also needed to go take a trip to Denmark. The story takes place in Portland, Oregon, and Denmark. And so I turned to Kickstarter, and I turned to my readers, and together we raised $5,000 in 45 days. And that absolutely would not be possible without the strong support of my Twitter followers and the people who believe in the story and are waiting for me to finish the book so that they could buy it, because they are a part of the story and how it unfolded. I cannot stress enough how important using the hashtags and interacting with my Twitter followers, being a real person, being available, how all of that helped make The Miracle in July what it is now. And I have readers for a book that's not even available yet. And that's pretty awesome. And that has everything to do with Twitter-dipity.
Okay, does anybody else have anything they want to add to their Twitter-dipity life? Or some fun experience?
Yeah, I can share a more personal experience in that you heard from Dale Chumbly earlier. Dale Chumbly has been a person of Twitter-dipity for me, in that it's one of those things where we come from two separate worlds that may have never met any other way. And in fact, last night in the green room, we had a speakers pre-event thing, and Jeff Pulver talked about something called hybrid vigor. That was essentially what happens when two fields in the farming community kind of cross-pollinate, and this new plant emerges that would have never happened except that these two things were in the same vicinity and met each other in a different way. I'm online as Darth Blazer, a Portland Trail Blazers fan, and I'm on there to talk about Trailblazers basketball exclusively. That's what that account's for. And yes, I do actually wear the Darth Blazer helmet to Blazers games and so on. But it's fun. It's something fun that I came up with before I ever even had my own personal Twitter account. But that's actually at some point along the way, Dale had mentioned the Portland Trail Blazers, or else I never would have followed him. And him coming from real estate and me coming from a whole different line of work, we would have never crossed paths except for that. And not only did I go out and have the chance to meet him, but being the connector that he is, he introduced me to Frank Schumann, who you'll hear from later this afternoon, who's now my partner in ZoomMedia, which, again, that to me has just been like, that's what we're talking about here at Twitter-dipity, is Twitter has the potential to do something life-changing for people, life-changing for your brand.
I think that's right. I think a lot of times we make an assumption that because people like to basically entertain themselves in the social media playground, that they're socially inept, they're computer geeks, they don't like to be out in person. And I think all of us have felt just the reverse of that. That the fact that we are involved in social media has given us opportunity to meet people who we would have never crossed paths with. And they've created great friendships, great business relationships, and just a lot of fun. I was thinking earlier about when I first got into social media. I think my first interest was Facebook because I had a teenager in the house. And I realized after being on it for a little while that people made me laugh. And I was laughing more than I had in a really long time, and it felt really good. So you have a short period of time to be yourself and be real, and who I was finding out there were my friends, and they were very entertaining. I know a lot of the people on the panel here are writers, they're content strategists, and that ability to communicate, and we have to kind of respect our grammar, otherwise Mary will probably come after us, but the ability to communicate in written form is still important. And there are opportunities to come out from behind our computers and connect. We have cool kids here in Vancouver. There's always a bunch going over to @Wiffies. And there's probably some other things out there on hashtags and groups of people connecting. And Twitter-dipity is the community. It's the community reaching out and connecting with each other. So I want to thank Michelle, Mary, and Michael for joining me today and introducing you to Twitter-dipity. We'll be at the back if anybody has any questions, and we're looking forward to meeting you in the social sphere and being part of your Twitter-dipity. So thank you very much.